A year ago, Mark Evans, winless on the season, got his first victory driving Miss Budweiser. At that race, rival Pico American Dream captured the O'Doul's championship. This season, Evans is driving the Pico and has won 3 in a row and is challenging the Miss Budweiser's narrowing points lead. But in this decade, no driver has won the San Diego race back-to-back. The Jasper Unlimited Hydroplane Thunder Tour Series. Next. The San Diego area typifies the best of California. Water and waves, sun and fun, beaches and boats. This relaxing atmosphere is everywhere. But the Bill Muncey Unlimited Hydro Bits. The pressure is on the Budweiser team. Hello from San Diego, I'm John Nicholson. Just 3 events ago, Budweiser had a huge lead in the O'Doul's high point standings. Now, after 3 weeks of tough luck, Pico American Dream and Close Call both breathing right down the Budweiser neck. In qualifying here, Mark Webber once again came in first at 162.599 miles an hour, but Pico was right behind. So who is the favorite? Well, this event doesn't have a recent history of going to the favorite. In the last 4 years, 4 different winners, and none was the favorite going in. This boat is the last one the Budweiser team has running, and the Budweiser team members had to work like heck to get it ready after the bizarre accident in Seattle when Miss Elan Plus wound up on top of it. So here in San Diego, team could really come into play. Let's get more about that from my partner, Tom Deeth.
Well, the Budweiser racing team brought only 1 boat to this event. Team owner Fred Leland brought 3. And he proved that the team concept worked in Seattle because it took all 3 teams to win that event. We have another owner, Steve Woomer, who has 2 boats in his arsenal, and he's long overdue for a win. Close call driver Mark Tate is winless this year, but won this event in 1995 after Chip Hanauer cartwheeled Miss Budweiser in the final. San Diego is an unpredictable event, and unusual things happen, as we saw in the first heats.
And here is a look at the lineup for the first heat. Mark Evans in lane 1 in Pico American Dream. Jimmy King and Miss Elan Plus in lane 4, and Mike Jones on the outside. Needed a commissioner's option to get in, not able to qualify. He's had his troubles. Heading for the green flag, it was Pico on the inside, but Michael Hansen and DeWalt Tools grabbing the early lead on this 2.5-mile course. 3 laps in heat 1. Hansen takes it around the corner. A slight lead over Mark Evans. What does Mark got to do to get back? He certainly has a shorter route.
Well, Mark has the inside lane. He got that because of his qualifying position, but Michael Hansen really got a good start. Mark Evans was sleeping a little bit, but he has position because he has the inside.
Michael Hansen qualifying 4th, so he'd be the 2nd fastest qualifier in this Heat 1A. And speaking of fastest, this is a fast course.
It is a fast course. Of course, this is salt water. This is the 2nd time this year that we've run on salt water. Salt water is more buoyant, and it gives the prop a better flight, better grip, so more thrust off the turns.
Fastest course on the Unlimited Hydro Tour right here on Mission Bay in San Diego. And there's the Zodiac average lap speed, 154 miles an hour for Pico American Dream. And now Mark Evans grabbing the lead here, coming around the corner, at last taking advantage, but a heck of a drive by Michael Hansen into DeWalt Tools from Madison, Indiana.
Another thing about this race course, it's got beaches all the way around the shoreline, so the wakes from these boats go up to the beach and they dissipate. They don't come back on the race course.
Mark Evans takes Heat 1A, picks up 400 points, and we get it all started here in San Diego. Checking the Fruit of the Loom results, DeWalt Tools gets 300. Deja Vu with Nate Brown 225. At the bottom, Mike Jones unable to start in Miss Exide. Bound to be a bit dejected about that. But Tom talked with a couple of drivers who are energized, or were after that race.
Just clean racing, man, giving me room, but yet just enough, just holding me there. He had great accelerations off the turn, so we gain on me, and I had to use my flaps, and man, that's just the cool kind of racing everybody dreams about doing. It was fun.
You've got a dyno since Seattle, so the performance has picked up.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, that's night and day. For years, we've struggled just using the boat as a dyno to try to dial the motors in. But having the dyno back home, we spent a lot of time on it after Seattle, and it's proven itself in the last couple days here.
So that was how Heat 1A went. We're just getting started. Heat 1B highlights just ahead, and there are some surprises in store. ESPN2 coverage of the San Diego Bay Fair Bill Muncey Cup on Mission Bay is sponsored by Las Vegas, open 24 hours. By Jasper Engines and Transmissions. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew. Claiming this is one of the biggest sand castles in the world. It certainly is big, just across from the race course here on Mission Bay in San Diego. We promised a look at Heat 1B, which ran earlier. Here it is. The starting lineup finds Miss Budweiser on the inside, top qualifier at 162.599 miles an hour. And on the outside, Brian Reynolds driving the U8 Lumar window film. They head for the green flag. Some terrific racing, it turned out, in this Heat 1B at San Diego.
Great side-by-side start there. Budweiser on the inside. Close call, just slightly ahead going into that first turn.
Close call, the number 3 qualifier. A little light going around the buoys, and there they are side by side. It looks like Mark Tate has a bit of a lead here at this point at Heat 1B, but pretty good driving there in rough water conditions.
Well, they're deck to deck. We're inside the cockpit now with Mark Webber, and you're looking at the glare from the sun going down the backstretch. This was run late in the afternoon, and that definitely presents a problem for the driver, picking up those markers, those buoys.
5 laps of misstarts before they finally got the green flag in this heat. The water was like an ocean. Very, very tough going and very nice driving by everybody up to this point in Heat 1B. We mention again, Webber has the challenge, and Mark Tate really would like to put the pressure on him. Tate's still looking for that first win. He's got the boat, but he's had some really tough luck.
Well, they did some testing up in Pasco, Washington after Seattle, and it's showing because the boat ride is a lot better. We've got Mark Tate, very nice lead now coming down the front straight.
And there it gets a little rough again for Tate, but he handles it. Got the close call going beautifully in this heat. 147 miles an hour on the Zodiac timer. That's the average lap speed. Keep in mind, the boats are going a lot faster, of course, down the straightaways, approaching 200 miles an hour. You get the feel here on board with Mark Webber for that.
It's just about at this point of the race where the canard, that's just in front of the cockpit, got stuck in the lifting position, causing the boat to lift off the water.
So Webber had to back off, and that enabled Steve David to pass him. Luckily for Budweiser, Mitch Evans in the Appy and Geronimo was penalized a lap, so close call winds up as the winner of Heat 1B, and Steve David takes second in the Harvey Motorsports. Jerry Hale trying here to restart the Miss Vons, unable to do it. We check the Fruit of the Loom results and see the close call picks up 400 points. No points at all for the Miss Vons. Appy and Geronimo with the penalty winds up 5th in Heat 1B. So, what happened in the cockpit? Tom talked with Mark Webber.
We had a really good race boat. I went into turn 1 and I thought, man, it didn't stick like I normally like it to, and come down the backstretch with Mark, and I just had to get out of it. Come to find out, I went down the front straightaway, and the front canard wasn't working at all, so you can't drive that race boat without that canard. So we were real loose, so we brought it back, and we'll try for 2A or 2B.
The problem was as simple as a nut coming off the bolt that holds the canard pedal on. But at the other end of the pits, owner and driver celebrating what they certainly hope is a change of luck for this team.
Close call boat. It's been failing us all year, and we had a great boat race there going with Miss Budweiser, and once I definitely got the room on her, I moved over, and I just want to thank my crew for all the hard work they've been putting in on this thing, and it's paid off, but this is only one heat. We got a lot of racing tomorrow.
You did some testing after Seattle, though.
We made some boat changes and did some testing, and you know, we came here and we thought we could run 160, but like we're on the governor, 158, 159, 159, 158. But actually, I'll tell you, we ran the same setup right there in racing as we ran in qualifying, so it was a good boat.
Dave Vilwalk drove the Miss Budweiser earlier this season. 4 consecutive wins until in Tri-Cities right here. the boat blew over and Dave badly hurt his hand. At the San Diego race, he made his return to the Bud Camp and Unlimited Hydro Racing, and Tom talked with Dave Bilwak.
Dave, this is your first race back since Pasco. How's the rehab going? How you feeling?
The rehab's going really well, and I'm feeling great. And it's just good to be back to the race course. We're racers, and we love to be here. And so, this is the place where we feel the most comfortable on the weekends, and it's just great to be back here.
Well, you've always been a real positive guy, attitude-wise. Is your attitude still very positive?
Yeah, I sure am. It's too bad that I had to wreck the boat, and it's too bad that I had to get hurt. But I think we learned something from it. We'll make the boat safer from now on. And I think that's real important for the rest of the sport and the safety of all the rest of the drivers. That I think we learned something from the wreck, and we'll make some changes next year to deal with that.
It's a cliche, but sometimes they're true. Dave Bilwak, the man with the heart of a lion. There's more racing to come from San Diego. Stay with us. Welcome back to Mission Bay, San Diego, where there are things happening on land and in the air, as well as at sea. The Bill Muncey Cup, the 8th stop on the Jasper Unlimited Thunder Tour. Before we get to Heat 2A, we've got to be sure the boats are ready, running safely. Professor Tom Dietz, Pico Performance Corner today, tells us about something where we've seen a problem already during this racing. A look at the canard wings.
We've already seen what happens when the driver loses the use of his canards. The canards are as important as the foot throttle and the steering wheel. They're fully adjustable from the cockpit. The driver operates these with his left foot pedal. If he pushes down on the left foot pedal, the canards come up, which provide downforce to the front of the boat, squeezes it closer to the water. When he pulls back on the pedal, the canards go the opposite way, which provides lift under the boat, which raises the boat off the water. You want to do this when you're accelerating off the turn. The crews also can make adjustments by lengthening the canards. They do this, of course, on the shore. In the old days, we ran the boats strictly with the foot throttle and the steering wheel, but in the 90s, we used the canards.
And the boats and their canards warming up for Heat 2A. The lineup shows Jerry Hale and Miss Vons in the inside lane, Miss Budweiser and Mark Webber in lane 4. And because he won Heat 1, Mark Tate goes all the way to the outside in the close call phone card. After Heat 1B, the close call came back to the pits, found the rear of the boat had been damaged. So they started repairs. They did have the luxury of a little fiberglass drying time and were smoothing the surface just a few hours before this heat. So we'll see if that affects the close call's performance now in Heat 2.
What they're working on there is that's kind of like a mini sponson at the transom of the boat. It's we call them shoes, but they're like a wheelie bar in a dragster. They give the boat lift at the back of the boat.
Heading for the green flag, Tate will have to come from the outside in order to repeat and win here in Heat number 2. Again, Mark Webber is in lane 4, Steve David in between them. Those should be the fastest boats, although they are on the outside because this is the inverted start. When you get to Heat 2, the better you did in Heat 1, the farther out you're going to start. Tate with a very good start.
He's got to stay really wide because he has to be aware of the other boats on his inside. Steve and David there off to his left, and the Budweiser inside Steve and David.
A lot of room there in between Steve David and the Budweiser. Miss Vons on the inside already falling back as they come around the turn, and Tate still has the lead as we get aboard with Mark Webber.
Well, you can see the canard is working a lot better now. It's not flapping like it was in the earlier heat, and he's putting some downforce on it right now. You saw the wing tip up. That puts downforce on the boat, keeps it glued into the water.
Mark Tate seems to have close call glued into the water pretty well, but Mark Webber has grabbed the lead on him at this point. On board with the Budweiser, the Zodiac average lap speed 153 miles an hour, and that's moving. You can feel it right here in the cockpit with Mark. Look at this, side by side, deck to deck, from the bat eye in the sky.
Mark Tate is really pushing hard to win this heat. He's right on the hip of the Miss Budweiser. That's good close racing, everything legal there, but the Bud's out accelerating him coming off that turn.
Mark Webber getting more used to the Budweiser with each successive week, so therefore should be able to drive it better, and he has the shorter route to go.
This is almost like Mark Webber's first race because he hasn't made any of the final heats in the previous 2 events because of incidents. He's doing a fine job now.
After Mark took over for Dave Vilwalk in Kelowna, he had a fuel line problem, wound up not being able to run in the final or even the provisional to make the final. Then the following week in Seattle, as you know, Jimmy King, Miss Elam Plus, ran up on top of the Budweiser and busted it up terribly. So they really had to work like heck to get ready for this race here in San Diego.
We're back inside the Budweiser. It's just running flawlessly. The water conditions are really perfect. We went through a real fast, hard corner there. One thing I wanted to point out is the snorkel on all these boats. That's the big air intake above the cockpit. That's unique to the saltwater events.
Budweiser now lengthening the lead. It was just too long a trip for Mark Tate to get this one. Mark Webber taking advantage of the inverted start, and it looks like he will be able to get a win here in Heat 2A, which means 400 O'Doul's points, and every point is important as Close Call tries to close the gap for that championship for the whole season. 400 points is something that Budweiser desperately needs at every opportunity, because it is likely it's all going to come down to the final race in Honolulu, headquartered at the Outrigger Hotels. Mark Webber right now headquartered across the finish line. The checkered flag goes to him. He picks up those 400 points. We got a view from Mark's happy vantage point. Stephen David takes third in the Harvey Motorsports. And we'll check the Fruit of the Loom results. So far in San Diego, Close Call has the most points. Budweiser with 625, and Computers and Applications, Ken Muscatel's boat unable to start. He's had troubles all year. But you'll have no trouble finding out what's going on in unlimited hydroplane racing. Check out the UHRA website, www.uhra.com. Get yourself dialed in or perhaps modemed in. Let's go down to the dock and check with the winner.
Mark, that was a victory this team really needed.
Oh, you know that, don't you? It's, you know, I said we were going to have a good Sunday. We didn't have a good Saturday. We were top qualifier, and then we had the canard break yesterday. But Ronnie and Dewey and Dave and Bernie, they all promised me they'd give me the Miss Budweiser we've all know and love, and that was a lot of fun. That was a good heat.
Good to see her back on the water.
Oh yeah, it's good for me. I needed that. I know Bernie needed it, but I needed it probably worse.
Here's something every driver needs. Mitch Evans getting into the 5-point harness. Heat 2B is coming up next. Don't go away. How busy is it here in San Diego? There are 11 classes of race boats competing on Mission Bay this weekend, along with, as we see, a wealth of other activities, something for plenty of participants and plenty of spectators. Back on Mission Bay, we're getting near the start of Heat 2B, and we are looking up close at the Miss Elam Plus U16, put together and run by the Elstrom family. This is an unlimited team which runs a limited schedule based in the Seattle area. And among the crew are the dad, who came from Sweden originally, brothers, sister, and in-laws. It is quite a family operation.
Well, this family operation started off with my father, Sven Elstrom. We have a family business that's been in business for 38 years. We introduced ourselves to unlimited hydroplane racing about 4 years ago, enjoyed the sport very much, decided to build a boat, and that's where you see the new Miss Elam Plus, and that's kind of where we've jumped in.
Early attempts were tough, like in 1994 when Ken Dryden, driving this Elam-sponsored boat, went up in the 4-point hydro like a rocket and landed hard. Had to start over basically from scratch, but the family pulled together, determined to succeed, with fathers Sven and sons Eric and Tom making it happen.
My father is head and chief, as he calls himself. When decisions need to be made, they're primarily with the boat, done with Eric and Tom, but serious and major decisions is a family decisions. We all sit down and talk about it. We work very well together, and that's where we take it from.
Handling problems, though, have plagued the team this year. Evident in Seattle when the boat hit a roller and rolled on top of Miss Budweiser.
3 times, well, now being the 3 times that the boat's been out, it's made major leaps and bounds. Of course, we've been having a handling problem, but we're gaining on it, and we just try and put that out of our head. Nobody was hurt, and let's try and make the thing go faster.
And the entire team remains determined.
I don't think you can get into the sport and not have the kind of problems that we have. So we're taking it slow and we're doing one step at a time. We're getting fast. We're getting excited about that, but we've got some things to tweak, and we're looking forward to expanding, hopefully in the next year, next 2 years certainly, and possibly doing the whole circuit.
So, checking the starting lineup, we find Jimmy King, Miss Elam Plus in lane 2. Abby and Geronimo's got the inside. Again, this is an inverted start. If you didn't do well the first time, you're going to get a good lane this time. Miss Exide wasn't able to start, so it was all the way the outside. And Pico is in lane 5. Heading for the green flag now. Will Mark Evans be able to get past everybody else with superior speed? DeWalt Tools ought to present a challenge as it normally does, and they are very, very close coming up to the start. There's your green flag for Heat 2B. From the Labatt Eye in the Sky, look at how close all the boats are, 1 through 5.
You can see that the Pico was pulling ahead slightly. Whoa!
Oh! Jimmy King up in the air and down in the Miss Elam Plus. He is upright. The boat is upright. Jimmy King, of course, still inside. You can see movement in the cockpit, so
the wing has gone off the boat, so in the accident when it came down in its transom, the water pressure just blew the wing and the transom all apart. You can see the wing floating in the water in front of the Miss Elam. There's the cowling going up, or the cockpit hatch going up.
So Jimmy King appears to be okay and is climbing himself out even as the rescue boats head over to check him out. Looks like he's fine.
A little upset, disgusted.
As well he should be. Let's look at it again in slow motion. Jimmy King in the white boat in lane 2. Watch as he veers out toward Deja Vu, hits a roller, and up he goes.
Got caught right in the rooster tail of the Deja Vu, stood it right on the tail, came down transom first, impacted the water, and slammed back down right side up.
And it brings to mind what happened in Seattle when the boat also slid to the right and wound up that time on top of the Miss Budweiser.
Well, this time he was actually in the rooster tail behind the boat that was in front of him, and the rooster tail is what caused the boat to blow up in the air. That just goes to show you the force of those rooster tails, and of course it landed on its transom, slammed down right side up. But the rooster tail is what caused this particular incident. Jimmy couldn't make the corner.
Disappointment for the owners of the Miss Elam. We'll be back for the restart and a word with the driver. Back on Mission Bay, the Bill Muncey Cup on the Jasper Hydroplane Tour presented by Las Vegas. The boat's back for a restart of Heat 2B. Let's go down and talk to Jimmy King, who just got back to the dock, and find out what happened to him in the first attempt to get this heat going.
Give us the blow black bow. What happened?
Just went in the corner. Things were running well. Went to get it on its hook. It was a little late coming over for me. Got into Nate's rooster tail. They all left me plenty of room. It's just we slid out a little bit too far, got in the tail, and away it went.
Well, it's got to be disappointing because of all the work after the Seattle incident and working all hard this week with the handling of the boat, and now this.
Well, the Elstrom family with the Elam Place and for Micah, they did a phenomenal job with this thing. I mean, to come back after that, we've been having a little bit of a handling problem for the last 3 years. We finally got a handle on the thing, just a little bit more to go, and now we got to start over again. That's why it's called racing.
Better luck next time.
Thanks.
And so we'll start Heat 2B all over again, this time without Jimmy King in the Miss Elam Plus. Mitch Evans still on the inside, then everybody moves over. Pico American Dream now in lane 4. Mark Evans will try to come from that lane and pick up another win. We've got a green flag, and once again, a good start.
A great start, all boats equal, heading for the first turn. The water conditions in this heat are going to be a lot better because we're down to only a 4-boat heat. 2 boats not making the start.
Mike Jones has missed Exide once again, not able to go. That makes the Pico the pace boat. What does that do in terms of his strategy, what he's able to do getting off from the start?
Well, being that he's the pace boat, he can set the pace, and he made a real fast start there, which was to his advantage. All the other boats had to follow him.
At this point, though, Nate Brown in lane 2 in the Deja Vu does have the lead, but here comes Mark Evans coming up to move by him. There's DeWalt Tools, the yellow boat, trailing with Michael Hansen. Evans is going after Nate Brown from the outside. He's got the faster boat.
He's got to be real careful. You notice the room that he's leaving for the DeWalt tools. He has to do that. This gives the course advantage to the Deja Vu. He's inside the race course, and it's a shorter way around.
And what a terrific job Nate Brown has been doing driving this boat all season long, really, as we look at the Labatt Eye in the sky, exceeding a lot of people's expectations, trying to hold off Pico right here, but he's done a great job. Ooh, close.
Very close there. He's actually, you know, he's doing a fantastic job, and I agree with you 100%. He's been getting the hand-me-down parts. This is the Steve Woomer's second boat, and it's exceeded all expectations as far as I'm concerned.
Holding the inside, Nate Brown and Deja Vu. Coming along the outside, Mark Evans and Pico American Dream now seems to be getting where he wants to go. The Zodiac lap timer showing us an average speed of 155 miles an hour for Evans, and there he goes now, gaining the advantage over Nate Brown.
What a driver does there when he's coming from the outside like that is he slowly starts to squeeze over. His spotter gives him the information as where the other boats are. He can't crowd the other boats and cut them off. But once he can start tightening up that radius and shortening up the distance around the race course, he really picks up the speed.
Back in third place, Michael Hansen touring at 144 miles an hour for the average lap speed on the Zodiac timer, but Mark Evans now has got the lead. Still, Nate Brown is going to try to give him a run to the finish.
Notice how nicely that boat is set up to go around that corner. It's not bobbling, it's not hiking the skid fin. He's really picking up time around the corners. Of course, being out front like he is now, he can pick the water conditions that he wants to run in.
Just a terrific job of driving by Mark Evans, again coming from the outside lane, but equally terrific, I would say, Nate Brown right here in Deja Vu, dogging him as they come around the final turn.
Deja Vu's doing an excellent job. He's taking what's left over. In other words, Mark's squeezing him in, so he's binding up the Deja Vu boat a little bit, which slows him down coming off the corner.
Still tight. No question, Evans with a decent lead, and now the checkered flag, but boy, did Nate Brown keep that close. Checkered flag for Pico American Dream. That's the second win here in San Diego. And Michael Hansen takes third place in DeWalt Tools. Checking the Fruit of the Loom results, a perfect day so far for Pico American Dream, 800 points, and two non-starters here, the Elan Plus and the Miss Exide down at the bottom. Say, what do you have in common with all these people? Well, for one thing, you can join the UHRA Winner Circle just as they can. It's easy. It's a free call. 1-800-203-1243, and you're in the winner's circle. So's Tom Deeth. Let's go down to the dock and hear from the winner.
What goes through your mind when you got to run from way on the outside like that as a driver to work your way back up to first place?
Well, you know you're going to have to work your tail off, and personally, I got to air the boat way out and just, you know, get as much as we can out of it. And so you just know right away it's going to be a tough one, and you just got to keep pinching guys in a little bit more and not get an infraction. That's a big thing. You want to make sure you have your 5 boat lengths, and that's where a good radio man comes in. Like Kenny Dryden, by the way. Put that little plug in.
Speaking of plugs, right here on ESPN2, drag racing from Memphis, NHRA qualifying. That's October 3rd, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and NHRA professional finals, 8:30 Eastern time, October 5th. And we'll be right back with more of the hydroplanes from San Diego. Welcome back to San Diego, where Heat 3A is coming up shortly. The spirit of Bill Muncey is everywhere here at East Mission Bay. This is the Bill Muncey Memorial. It's the Bill Muncey Hydroplane Race Course. The competition is for the Bill Muncey Cup. So who was Bill Muncey? Well, in case you don't know, in unlimited hydroplane racing, Bill Muncey is not only a legend, he's probably the legend. Bill Muncey began his unlimited career in 1955. A Detroit native, he was handpicked by Seattle boat builder Ted Jones to drive the Thriftway. Not only driving, but eventually owning the Atlas van line, Muncey proceeded over the next 2.5 decades to amass 8 Gold Cups, 3 national championships, 7 drivers' championships, and a record 62 career victories, the most by any unlimited hydroplane driver. Then in 1981, in what was scheduled to be his last race, Bill Muncey was killed in Acapulco. His memory lives on in the record books and in races, especially this one here in San Diego. Because Muncey is the guy who put together the organization to keep Unlimited racing here. We check Unlimited Heat 3A. Close call phone card now has the inside. Mike Jones will try to get it going this time from the outside in Miss X side, and we're coming up toward the start. Jones, the pace boat. There's the green flag. And can Mark Tate finally pick up a win in this one? It's tight on the inside. Right next to him is the Miss Budweiser with Mark Webber as we check from the Labatt Eye in the sky.
Mark Tate definitely out top-ended the Budweiser heading to the first turn. He pulled out about 2 boat lengths entering that corner. It looks like the Budweiser's accelerating, though, extremely well off the turn.
Deck to deck, these 2 fast boats. The first qualifier, Budweiser. The third qualifier, close call, and it should be one heck of a race all the way through.
Both boats just running perfectly, but you can see again where the close call phone card had top end on the Miss Budweiser. The Budweiser was in the lead coming off that turn, but close call pulled back up and right next to him.
Bumpy though, bumpy for Mark Tate in that ride, and now Mark Webber is moving up.
Budweiser back out in front again. There's that acceleration we were talking about. The 2 boats are really equally matched.
Again, they're close to 200 miles an hour down these straightaways. Whoa, and the Budweiser gets light.
Very, very light. Mark Webber lost control there, got airborne, had to turn the boat to the right, lost a lot of position to the close call boat, but he recovered and he's still in a strong second place.
151 miles per hour, the average lap speed, the Zodiac timer for Mark Tate in close call, and he has got, it appears from this angle, just a bit of a lead. 150 miles an hour for Mark Webber in the Miss Budweiser, so that is just how close it is in every sense. But Tate clinging to the buoys this time and starting to build a bit of a lead as we look from on board with Mark Webber.
Mark Webber now has to key on the spray that he sees in front of him. Mark Tate can hide the corner, and that's what he's doing. He's letting the boat drift off. You can see him wider, closer to the shoreline. He's freeing the boat up so that he can put that top end power to use.
And Mark Tate now stretching out the lead in this 3-lap Heat 3A, doing a beautiful job of driving the boat this time. Still, as we say, looking for that first win of the year. It's bumpy, but he's got it controlled.
You notice that he went into the corner a little deep that time and a little wider. What a driver does is he kind of hides the buoys. He knows that the driver running second is on his hip, and if he turns just a little bit late, there's a split second between when he turns and when the driver in second realizes that he turned.
Tate to the inside, Budweiser to the outside, and here in third place, Steve David of Harvey Motorsports. Once again inside with Mark Webber, and you can see that rooster tail he's trying to chase down.
You can see the canard wing there. It goes in the lifting position. You do that accelerating off the turn, and then once you're on the straightaway, you get it back to neutral into the downforce position.
Close call. Mark Tate takes the checkered flag, much to the delights of the crew on the shore. Steve David coming around turn 2, a little rough there as he comes in to take third place. And we check the Fruit of the Loom results. Close call has rung up 1,100 points now this weekend in San Diego. Budweiser in second, Harvey Motorsports in third place there. Let's go down to the dock.
You had it, then he had it, then back to you again.
Yeah, it was a good boat race, you know, between the close call boat and the Miss Bud. You know, I give my guys a lot of credit. We definitely got a race boat under us that we haven't had all year.
Is this a statement for Bernie now, Wilmer?
Oh, I'll tell you something, it's a good feeling. It's been a struggle for the whole crew and myself, and damn, it's a good feeling. And come on, Bernie, we're ready.
Here's a statement from Bernie's crew, the crew getting a new motor ready, so we'll see what that'll do for the Budweiser. We'll be back.
Well, basically 1993 here in San Diego, it started out as a terrible day. We broke in the first heat. We struggled through, didn't actually make the second, third heat. We did get a chance to go out and run the last chance. We won that, which got us a spot in the final. We had to start 2 rooster tails behind everybody. We weren't too excited about that. Didn't think our chances were very good. But by the time we got done with the first lap, we were out in first place. It was the first victory for us in the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes in '93. San Diego has its quirks for us as well. Last year we were running real strong, thought we had a good chance. In the third heat, all of a sudden we developed a rudder problem during the warm-up time, And the boat, evidently, I don't remember much of it myself personally, but what I see on the tapes from Diamond P, our boat actually hooked to the left, ran into the T plus or the U2 Harvey's boat, went right and actually barrel rolled, and I spent my time unconscious and talking real silly for about a day.
Welcome back to Mission Bay and San Diego. Now it is 1997, and Michael Hansen has seen both ends of the spectrum here. Pico American Dream will be on the inside as Mark Evans goes for his 3rd consecutive heat win and still trying to get his 4th consecutive overall win here on the Unlimited Hydroplane Tour. Computers and Applications with Ken Muscatel will be on the outside, pacing the field as we head for the green flag in Heat 3B. Mark Evans has yet to have to face the close call or the Budweiser here in San Diego. DeWalt Tools in lane 2 with Michael Hansen should be the most competition. And there's the green flag. We look from the Labatt Eye in the sky.
The wind is going to be a factor in this heat. It's definitely picked up throughout the afternoon, but Pico has that inside advantage. Hope DeWalt can pick up the pace a little bit. He's going to have to start standing on it.
Mark Evans, since coming over to this Pico team this year, tough start, first 4 races again, went to Dave Villwock and Budweiser, but now he really has come on, even to the point where he flipped over and came back to win.
Well, that's got to give a driver a lot of confidence, knowing that he's got a crew, or crews, we should say, because they've got 3 teams, 3 boats at this race, so there's a lot of people available to them. But knowing that they have that depth.
Speaking of team, Nate Brown of Deja Vu, part of the Steve Woomer team, now in 3rd place in Heat 3B. And as you said earlier, the team concept has really helped Pico. 148 miles an hour, the Zodiac average lap speed for Mark Evans, and he's out in front once again.
He's got this race well in control. He's doing everything that he needs to do as a driver to protect the lead. We've got the DeWalt running a fairly close second, but actually a little bit wide. I'd tuck it up a little bit, try and get a little closer to him.
That seems to be what Nate Brown's trying to do in Deja Vu, coming in at one point very close to the rooster tail of DeWalt. The Zodiac lap timer shows us Deja Vu going 148 miles an hour, the average for that lap, as he tries to move up on DeWalt, which also is going 148 miles per hour. Go back and see that Pico did 148. That makes it unanimous. But again, Pico's got the inside.
He's got the inside lane, the water conditions. This is a 3-boat heat, so the water conditions are going to be the best they're going to be all day long. We have the wind is still a factor. You can see it chopping up the water a little bit at the exit there of that turn.
Well, get out the broom once again in the heats for Mark Evans, because Pico American Dream has taken Heat 3B. That's a perfect day so far as we watch a good finish from the Labatt Eye in the sky, but they do finish 1 for Pico, 2 for DeWalt, and 3 for Deja Vu and Nate Brown. Appy and Geronimo, Computers and Applications, more problems, neither boat able to get it going for this one. More problems, too, for Brian Reynolds in the Lumar window film. Not his day. Here is the front 6 for the Unlimited Finals. And Pico will have the inside, then close call and Budweiser. Let's go down to the dock.
Another solid 2nd place, but you want 1st in the final.
Yeah, we wanted 1st there, too. We'd like to get 1st every time out. It gives you a better lane selection. But I think we'll have the 4th choice, so at least we won't be too far out.
How'd the boat ride?
It's running real good. I mean, considering how much wind we got blowing from the right side on the back straightaway here, we got a pretty decent boat ride. Guys might tend to have trouble with that come the final.
Over in the close call pit, it appears the boat has lost its other shoe. The crew is hard at work. We'll be back with more from San Diego in just a moment. Promotional consideration provided by the San Diego Princess Resort, the official hotel of Bayfair Racing, a 44-acre island paradise in the heart of San Diego's Mission Bay. Call free for reservations. Back at Mission Bay, it's been a great day of racing here at Bayfair, evidenced by the unlimited lights. A little magic there, and sometimes it requires that. George Stratton's Wildfire team spent a good part of the weekend fixing the rudder. In earlier unlimited light heat action, Stratton gave Miss Leroy and Randy Haas, who had taken an earlier heat win, a run for 2nd place, but the checkered flag belonged to Bo Scheid in Alamo. And while the final had yet to be run, Bo piled up enough points to close out the championships for the Unlimited Lights this year. The win for Ned Allen and his Alamo team. So here's the starting lineup for the Unlimited Lights final. Dave Bender's got the inside. Doug Brow taking over for Phil Bonancini in lane 2, and pocket mechanic. On the outside is Randy Haas and Ms. Leroy, and just inside of him, Bo Scheid and Alamo. The operative colors in Unlimited Lights seem to be white and yellow as we head for the start, looking from the Labatt Eye in the sky. And there from lane 2, Doug Brow apparently is turning off the course into the infield before the start. Green flag, and we are racing. Unlimited Lights.
George Stratton exiting the turn first. They worked round the clock putting the rudder back on that boat to get it ready for this final heat.
This is the boat that George Stratton flew upside down, did a 360 in Kelowna, and came right back, landed right side up, and drove into the dock. He then went on to win later in that same boat.
Alamo rental cars down. I believe they've been having propeller problems all day long. I hope this is not another propeller problem.
No problem so far for George Stratton. Here he is running strong in the lead. Back in the infield, we take a look now at Pocket Mechanic, which went off the course right before the start of the race. And now here is another boat down. This is Cal Phipps, Miss Leroy 2, that Stratton is going by on the inside. Off on your right of your screen, that boat's down.
Randy Haas getting a little bit of air underneath there, running a strong second place in that upper corner.
But the strongest race belongs to George Stratton in Wildfire. He won in Seattle the last event. He is way ahead here, heading for the checkered flag in the UL 125. He takes it. He is a winner in San Diego, George Stratton is. And checking the Fruit of the Loom results, Miss Leroy, Randy Haas in second, then ECI 3, Scott Schatz, first time we've seen that boat, in third. Nobody else was able to finish. Here's somebody else. Dave Bender had some problems, not happy. Let's go down to Tom in the pits.
We're in a little bit of a thrash here in the close call pit area. They're removing the entire rear shoe at the transom of the boat. That shows the importance that this final heat has. The Budweiser racing team has already dropped 225 valuable points to both the close call racing team and the Pico American team. So this final heat could make or break somebody's season.
ESPN2 coverage of Bayfair's Bill Muncey Cup is sponsored by Las Vegas, open 24 hours. BioDuel's non-alcoholic brew. And by Jasper Engines and Transmissions. We are set for the final of the Unlimiteds, and this should be a good one. 3 boats within about 1 mile an hour of each other. For the first time, Mark Evans in lane 1 will have to face the other 2 Marks. That'd be Mark Tate in lane 2 and Mark Webber in lane 3. From the eye in the sky, we see Mark Tate jump out to the early lead in lane 2.
The draws really have favored the Pico team all day long, but now they've got a race for it.
You can see the glare here in San Diego coming off the water. Makes it tough to drive along with everything else. Mark Evans on the inside, and Pico will try to get back the early lead from Tate, and Mark Webber driving hard. Budweiser on the left of your screen now going out of it. But Mark Tate is holding the slim lead so far in lane 2. Close call over Mark Evans and Pico American Dream. The first lap of 5 2.5 mile laps, so it's going to be a long race. All the heats are only 3 laps.
Mark Tate's got a slight advantage. He's riding that boat perfectly on a cushion of air going through that turn, but at a slight disadvantage because he's in lane 3.
And showing up that disadvantage here is Mark Evans on the inside, passing up and taking the lead now.
A little bit of air underneath the Pico, but we've got a deck-to-deck battle.
From the Labatt Eye in the sky, you indeed can see how close these first 2 boats are. Now Evans will try to stay tight to the buoys going around, and Tate will try to keep him in there. Both men driving well around the turn.
Both boats are just tucked into each other, just driving perfectly. Heading down the backstretch now. The Budweiser's running a little bit of a distant third, but again at a disadvantage because he's way to the outside.
149 miles an hour, the average lap time for Mark Tate in close call in the Zodiac timer. But here is your leader, a little light but under control, Mark Evans. On board with Mark Webber, check out the rooster tails to his left.
You can see the rooster tails and the glare, and when that salt water gets on the canopy, it kind of crystallizes. It makes seeing very difficult.
Mark Evans holding on to the lead now in Pico, and 150 miles an hour on the Zodiac lap timer. That's his average speed, 1 mile an hour faster than Mark Tate, who now is falling just a bit behind him.
This is a fast final heat. We've got the top 3 boats here going for it. It's just like a shootout.
And again, this is a very fast course, the only course in the world built specifically for racing unlimited hydroplanes on.
The water conditions are getting a little bit rougher. You can see where the wind is a factor coming up the backstretch and picks up the right spots into the Pico. He's got to correct for that and get it back on the water.
Once again on board with Mark Webber. He's got his work cut out for him. The Pico crew likes what's happening out there, and indeed the crew should, because Mark Evans looks like he's very well on the way to picking up his 4th win in a row. No non-Budweiser driver has done that since 1985.
Well, it just goes to show you the importance of lane choice. The Picos had lane choice all day long, and again in the final they picked lane 1.
Back in 1985, it was Chip Hanauer driving the Miller American, the last non-Bud driver to win 4 in a row. Zodiac lap timer telling us both Close Call and Pico are 2 miles an hour slower than they were in the previous lap, but still mighty fast at 149 and 147.
Very fast, and it doesn't appear that removing that rear shoe on the right rear corner of the Close Call has hurt him at all. That boat's running perfectly. It's the best I've seen it run all year.
Into the home stretch, Mark Evans. It says on the side of the boat, the mark of quality. We like to get him and say, that's you. He says, yes, it is. That's your champion, and it is 4 in a row for Fred Leland's Pico American Dream Team. Once again, the bridesmaid, Mark Tate in Close Call. 3rd place for Mark Webber in the Miss Budweiser. So as we check the Fruit of the Loom results, another perfect day for Pico, picking up 600 points. Close Call gets 1,400, and moving up on Budweiser as Steve David, this time unable to finish in the Harvey Motorsports. So the O'Doul's Championship likely will come down to heat victories rather than event wins. Less than 400 points now separating the top 3. Speaking of top, here is our winner.
Hey, now that was a boat race. 4 for 4.
Woo! A grand slammer, man. I had to work for that one. What a race, boy. I thought Tate had us for at first. But man, the Pico boat got up and hauled. I was just so happy. That's great. Good job, Kitty, man.
Hey, all boats were running fine. Everybody running their strongest. That's the way you want to win them.
Yes, it is. All out and beat him fair and square. That's cool, man. I love it. Good job again.
For Tom Deeth, John Nicholson saying so long from San Diego. The Unlimited Hydroplane Series is produced by Diamond P Sports in association with ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
I am there.